Evening everybody, Rich here, back for another video for the Diecast F1 review. Here today is the Brabham BT52 from the 1983 Formula 1 World Championship, and in the car is Nelson Piquet. Now Brabham went into the 1983 season with sort of an unknown really, because the car was late in development after a late rule change banning ground effects. All the cars now had to have flat bottoms due to safety concerns with cars producing too much downforce. So all new designs for that year come up with some really weird looking cars, and the Brabham the BT52 was no exception. Ligier and I think a lot of the backmarker teams as well sort of followed the same concept with very short side pods, but that's mainly to sort of claim back some rear traction or rear downforce, really, moving everything from the side pods, or removing all the side pods all the way to the rear axle of the car or around the rear wheels, just to try and get as much weight around the rear wheels. Gordon Murray, the man who designed the BT52, a very interesting bloke of course, had to basically do that, just basically move everything to the rear axle. The car was late in development, it didn't have much downforce either, but that soon put paid to that with an awful lot of power from that BMW engine. I think it was a straight 4 BMW engine they had, later to be used by Arrows as a Megatron unit, I think. Now Brabham only claimed 4 victories in 1983, 3 for Piquet, 1 for Riccardo Patrese, and the car was fast straight out the box really. It won the first race but would not win another race till much later in the season, after which Brabham had introduced a B-spec version of the car. There was also livery changes as well, whereas this car, as you can see in front here, is sort of white tops with blue sides. A different version where it was sort of white sides and blue top. It's sort of a negative of the car that we have here, sort of a negative livery effect. Looks interesting, but I prefer this version. But yeah, only 4 victories that year, and only 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. Of course, Brabham not fielding 2 competitive cars, or 2 competitive drivers, only have enough budget for the one really, and sort of, I think Gordon Murray sort of announced and admitted that in an interview recently. So yeah, that's sort of put paid to Brabham's championship hopes, but well, Constructors' Championships, but the Drivers' Championships seem to be the most prestigious to them. Now the car would only race for 1 season, 1983 of course, before being replaced by a more conventional BT, I think it was a BT55, BT56, I'm not sure how they label their cars, or whether it be the BT54 or the 55 or the 53, I'm not sure, because this is the 52 of course. So yeah, the later cars had much longer side pods and became much less competitive as well at the time, but hey ho, there we go. Also this car featured refueling as well. As you can see, the fuel nozzle just below the Santal logo on the airbox behind the driver. So that's 1983 pretty much summed up with Brabham, but at least they won the Drivers' Championship that year, and sort of a close fought thing with Renault, with Alain Prost, but it's sort of a pish posh of different results, different drivers taking different victories and all things like that. But hey ho, there we go. But onto the model itself. I've ranted enough about what I know, because I'm sort of not born around 1983, so I don't really know much about the season, but we'll move on to the model anyway. Now this is a Minichamps model of course, and when I got this I thought, wow, it looks amazing, but there is an issue with it, and I'll come to that later on, but we'll have a look at the details of the model anyway. So we'll have a look around the cockpit first, because that's always a good place to start. So looking down into that, you've got all the detailing there. It's not as dusty as the other models I have, because this one's kept in a case, display case, so you've got all the detailing there. You've got painted buttons and things. Just trying to get as much in there, looking there as much as I can before the focus goes out, and yeah, I'm doing too bad. You've got all the dials on the steering, behind the steering wheel, buttons on the dashboard, so there's quite a lot of detail there. I just never really noticed it before. You've got a gear knob just there behind the driver's hand there. So there's plenty of detailing in there. So we'll zoom back out again, and we'll get a sort of sim racer view from the back of the car. So you got that view there, and if we look over the cockpit view there, you get how narrow that cockpit section is, or the nose section is. It really is very narrow. So that's that. So look down the side. You've got fuel hoses fuel nozzles on both sides. So that's something they didn't really cover up. We've got a grill on one side, that's for the turbo probably. And you've got a big rear tyre down the back. You've got a big exhaust under the rear wing. Big gearbox. Plenty of piping and detailing under there. So it's a very nice model in terms of detail. And all things there. Got a big rain light on the back as well. So that's that section there. So just going to change hands and turn the car around again. Then when I was explaining at the beginning, the cars all now had flat bottoms going into 1983. So if we just turn the car up, you can see no more ground effects. You've got a completely flat bottom to the car, apart from the sort of around the rear diffuser area. So it's sort of gone was the ground effects and up to a new era now. So I don't think that would change until 94 when they brought the plank in. So that's pretty basic, really. So I'll have a quick view around the front. And the steering on this car, got steering, of course, quite solid steering. It's a bit loose. Each wheel is a bit loose, but the steering mechanism is quite sturdy, so it's not a bad thing. It does roll as well, so you've got plenty of roll there. Each wheel is quite solidly attached. I mean, there's plenty of. I mean, the wheels are quite loose. If you look, you can see a bit loose, but you know they don't sort of allow the car to rub the floor, so it's quite sturdy in the suspension. Look at the driver. Look at all the decals on the driver's overall, so all down there. All things nicely done there. And that big nose, the big blue nose, a big front wing as well. I'll say it's a really weird looking car. I'll get a top down view as well before I go on to the details inside. So there's the top down view. Gives you an idea on how weird these cars were back in the day, but there you go. And also later in '83, I think they sort of added extra winglets to the rear wing, sort of small winglets just in front of the rear wheels. It's sort of what McLaren used in '84. I think by '84 everyone used those wings, but they were later banned anyway, so no biggie there. And so the biggest issue I have with this car does have a removable engine cover, so if I just hoist that off, and we'll have a quick look at the inside. So got the big BMW engine there, BMW power, big exhaust, big radiators, all sorts there. Got the big turbos, radiators, and the engine, of course, the fuel tank. Yeah, all the detailing there. Very nice model, of course. So just turn it around the other way and get some more detail looking straight down. So there's a straight four banger, as they call it. So there's a 4-cylinder engine. Big turbo down there, and just see it there, big turbo there. And they've got some wiring details and things like that, all nicely detailed. Some wiring on the BMW, what's it there? And there's a huge amount of detail there. So like I said, it's an engine cover removable car, and it's a very weighty model even without the engine cover on. But the problem I have with this model is the engine cover itself. I mean, it's plastic. It's just shitty plastic. I mean, with later Minichamps models, you do get one of these which is metal. Well, not this specific model, but you know, say the Williams FW14, that comes with a metal engine cover. But this one is just plastic. It's blue moulded plastic. It's very light, very cheap, and it's what lets it down. I mean, I did a review of the Benetton B186 from '86, and that's the same as well. That comes with a very cheap engine cover as well. A weighty model, but it's just let down by the engine cover. I mean, the decals will just peel off that, which is a real shame. But these are moulded, you know, it's nicely moulded, but yeah, it just lets it down. I think that should be metal, just leave it a bit more weight. But you know, that's my opinion. But never mind. To attach it to the car, there are 4 pegs. You've got a peg there, and a peg up the front there and there. So there's where they peg in. They peg in. I'll just zoom up to there. So they peg in. They've got peg holes. Peg hole here and one over here, and then I think another 2 just behind the driver's head there. So that's where that pegs into. So I'll just try and do that on camera, and I think. Yeah, the decals are quite fragile on this engine cover as well. The decals on the car are fine, but it's where they're attached to plastic, like the one on the engine cover, they're a bit fragile, so I'm going to be a bit careful with that. So the engine cover goes over, like so, over the roll hoop, and just sort of pegs in there. It doesn't peg in, the right peg there doesn't sort of peg in very well, but the rest of the pegs do. So yeah, it sort of sits on there like that. So that's the engine cover, and not much to talk about in that department, but yeah, it's one of those things. But I think it's one of only 2 Brabham models made at the moment, sort of this era anyway, the 80s Brabhams. There are other Brabhams, I think, from the sort of 60s, and the 70s as well. I think Minichamps have just released the was it the Brabham BT52? I think it was sort of the 77 car. not with the big fan on the back, but there's the red Martini Brabhams, which are very nice looking. So I think they've just released those. I'll say a couple of years ago now, so they're not brand new now, but still equally as expensive as they were when they were released. So yeah, the Niki Lauda, John Watson versions of the car. I'm not sure if they're going to be releasing the 78 car, which is the BT46, and the 46B, which is the fan car, of course. Not sure if they'll release that one or not, or whether they have, but we'll wait and see. So that's Minichamps anyway. I think Spark may have done the same car as well, I'm not sure. But there are a few Brabhams going around. I'm not sure if they've done the BT44 as well. I think from 1975 with the white Martini car with the big engine cover on it. So I'm not sure if they've done a 1/18 scale of that one anyway. But I've got a 1/43 of it. So yeah, actually, give me a second. I'll go find it. Success, I found it. This is the one I was talking about. Just give me a second. Move that one out of the way. So yeah, I've got the BT40, is it 44? Yeah, the BT44B from 1975. Yeah, it's a F1 car collection model. I've actually started collecting these, and I will do a review of these later on because I think these are ace. I know people get shitty about these because of the, say, lack of detail. I think there's plenty of detail on them, so yeah, I'll come back to it. But anyway, that's the Brabham BT44, which I was referring to, the Martini colour scheme with the much larger engine cover. So I may do a review of these if you're interested. So that's a collection I've just started, but we'll get rid of that and go back to our BT52, whatever it is. And yeah, I would recommend this model, but yeah, I'm not really sure the prices recently, because I've sort of been out of the diecast market for a while, and yeah, I'm not really sure what to go by, but I'm not sure which edition this is either, because I mean, I've got the box for this one just over here. Let me just grab it. Now the box for this one, if I just lift the thing up, it's a plain box. It's a plain black box, and I have seen versions where they've got pictures of the car all over, but this one is just a plain cardboard box with a little bit of writing down there. Yeah, made in China, of course. But yeah, this is all I have. It's sort of very cheap cardboard with a BMW logo on it. So yeah, it's not much to say about. But yeah, there is a better version with pictures all over the car, all over the box. So I think that's a more of a standard one. I think this may be a dealer collection or a BMW dealership version of the car. So yeah, it could be what that is. So yeah, that's probably what I have. So I didn't actually pay for this one either. This is actually a gift from a family member. So I don't actually know what it's worth, so, or how much to pay for it. So the value of it, I'm not, it sort of varies because they don't come up very often. And usually when they do come up, they've either got wing mirrors missing or the engine cover's missing. So finding one complete and in a decent box is very far and few between. So I'm not really going to have a guess at the value of this thing. But if you've got big pockets and you want one, then I'll say go for it. But be wary on the price and just have a look, give a good look at the pictures and the description before you go ahead and buy it, because they do come apart quite easily. Like I said, the engine cover is the weakest point in my point in terms of appearance, quality, and sort of the strength of it. Really, the wing mirrors are quite fragile as well, but I've not really dabbled with them. So, but the rest of the car is quite solid. I mean, the rear wing is that's not going to fall off. The front wing is moulded onto the floor, I think, or moulded onto the chassis, so that is quite solid as well. So the rest of it's absolutely fine. It's just, like I say, the engine cover and the wing mirrors. But hey ho, there we go. So yeah, it's an absolutely stunning model. Weird looking car. I mean, it's the era that it's from, but yeah, it's not too bad. But I would recommend it definitely. I'm not sure if they've done a model of the negative version either. The sort of the blue-white swap over, if you know what I mean, like I explained earlier, where the blue bits are white and the white bits are blue. Not sure if they ever did a version of that, but if they did, I'm sure it's expensive. So yeah, it's one of those things really to talk about. But yeah, I would recommend getting this one. The Piquet version definitely. I'm not sure if the Patrese version is out there or not, but have a look around. But like I say, it is quite a rare model. It's recently been issued as well as part of the Senna collection as well. So you got a version of this car with Ayrton Senna at the wheel. That's going to bump the prices up even more. because anything with Senna written on it is going to be expensive. So if you can get hold of the Brabham with Piquet or Patrese in it, then you may have trouble finding that. But I think the Senna version is the more easy one to come across. But price wise, it's going to be a killer. So yeah, it's up to you what you want to do. I'd recommend sort of holding back and sort of going to sort of events like the Goodwood Festival of Speed and things like that, where models are sort of hand in hand, you know, sort of coming out the woodwork. But yeah, I'd recommend holding on for that if you're going to that sort of thing, or events around your country that sort of do that sort of thing. But yeah, there's not much else to talk about this car really. I've done your service, I think. But yeah, I would recommend this one. It's a weighty model. I mean, like I say, it's quite. I'm trying not to pick it up, but it's quite a heavy vehicle, apart from the crappy engine cover on it. But yeah, that's really all I've got to say on it, really. But we'll do more reviews as well. I mean, I've got the FW11 over there, and the March CG901 there, which I've got to do. Recently done the MP425 and the MP411. We've got the Red Bull RB13 there from 2017. May do that one soon. And also the Jaguar R4 down there. Not really going to bother about that one because it's just sort of a generic car really, but the rest of them, yeah, we'll sort of have a look at that one. I will do the McLaren, not the McLaren, the Red Bull one day as well. As Minichamps have just released their version of it as well, so I'll wait and see on that one. So that's it for the BT52. So this is Rich signing off, logging off, disappearing, and I shall return hopefully with another video. So bye for now.